Hey, thanks for tuning into Sin's Workshop. So today we're going to be talking about Touch of Gold by Annie Sullivan. Now, pardon me, this is the, I don't know what's going on. This is the second novel of Annie Sullivan's that I've had the pleasure of reading. Her first novel, Tiger Queen, I really love. That's a retelling of The Woman and Tiger. You can check out my review on sinsworkshop.com. This one is a retelling of sort of the tale, it is a retelling of the tale of King Midas. I love Greek mythology. I think I've said that before. I love anything related to Greek mythology. I'm huge on Greek mythology. So that's the core of the story, and it follows Princess Cora. So the basic premise of the novel is that King Midas is gifted the touch of gold by Dionysus. That actually is in line with the original tale. I looked it up to make sure. So he's gifted with this touch of, to touch anything to gold. He soon finds that this gift is more like a curse. You know, and everything he touched turns to gold. I think we are all familiar with that regarding King Midas. But his daughter doesn't know this. So when she's a little girl, she runs into his arms for a hug and then is turned to gold. And she's awake through the entire process of this. She is awake and fully aware when she is made out of gold. So, you know, King Midas, he asked Dionysus, you know, please take this away from me. I don't want this gift anymore. How do I turn my daughter back to normal? So Dionysus, you know, he gives him a task. He's like, okay, collect everything you've turned into gold, including your daughter, put them in the river to be washed away. He's like, don't miss a single object. Of course, nothing goes according to plan. He does get his daughter to come alive again. She's no longer stone, but he doesn't get every item, you know, and the result of this is her daughter is touched by gold. You know, her skin is gold. She's able to move, but she is gold touched. Everything about her is gold, from her hair to her eyes to her hands, her skin. She's a gold girl. So, flash forward to the future, or to the present day regarding the story. You know, she is still touched by gold. She hides away. She's a very introverted person. And she has to go on this journey, you know. The cursed gold has been stolen away. And the farther away it gets from her father, the weaker he gets. You know, these are the repercussions of him not following Dionysus's warning to the letter. You know, he was so concerned with his daughter that, you know, he failed to do the task properly. I think that's a really good interpretation of King Midas' story, because it's not really about King Midas, it's more about his daughter. And I really liked the opening segment of the story because there's really no dialogue. It is a story. It's like you're reading Greek mythology. You know, you're just going through the narrative. You're lured into the premise of the story. And I thought it was very well done. In fact, the opening prose of the story reminded me it reminded me of the prose of The Woman or the Tiger in some respects. I don't know if Annie Sullivan if that was her intent, but whatever her intent, it paid off, because I'm already kind of engaged with this story, with this narrative, because it's almost like the opening is a lesson unto itself, a lesson about greed, which is what the story of King Midas is essentially about. And that's what I really loved about the opening sequence. I loved her prose. I loved how she's telling the story of King Midas and his daughter to sort of launch the reader into the actual story, because it is about Princess Cora. It is about how she has suffered for being made out of gold. And I honestly really enjoyed the story. I really did. I really liked. I love I love Sullivan's texture, the way she writes her stories. She's very good with showing the reader what's happening. She's really good at sort of subverting your expectations and making something very unpredictable, because there's a lot of unpredictability into this novel. There are some things that I'm just like, I knew it, but then that I knew it is kind of turned onto the head and be like, what? So you kind of know it, but you don't know the full picture of it. And that's what I liked about the story. You know, it does remain unpredictable. And yes, some elements can be predicted by the reader's interpretation of the context and the syntax in the story, but she doesn't give everything away. You know, she doesn't make the story predictable, because even when I got to the end, I didn't see that coming at all. You know, there's lots of misdirection, and I love misdirection when it's done properly, because then you're able to really enjoy the story. You're able to really enjoy how the story is unfolding, and I really appreciate that about Sullivan's writing. But what I also love about the story is the adventure. You know, Cora, she's such an introvert, mainly because people tend to scream at the sight of her. It's like, this girl of gold, you know. No one really sees her. She wears a veil, she wears gloves, she pretty much keeps herself completely covered so that people do not see her, because, you know, typically they kind of do scream. There's lots of rumors that go around about the Golden Princess, right? But it just highlights how lonely she is. You know, her really only true friend is her cousin, who doesn't see her as this girl of gold. She just sees her as her cousin. And I'm going to say this, I love her cousin so much. You know, her cousin is so hotty-totty, and she's used to getting weighted hand, you know, hand and foot. She's used to being spoiled. But when Cora goes on this adventure, on this somewhat rundown ship that is in desperate need of repairs, her cousin stows away on the ship with nothing but the fancy clothes on her back. And she's like, you're not doing this without me. She's a very good character as far as side characters go. I love her. She's unpredictable. She's memorable. She's memorable. I'm thinking of a remember-all. She's memorable. She's charismatic. She's a little funny. And she grows as well. You get to see her cousin grow from being sort of spoiled to being like, this is my ship now. You don't get to mess with us. She's really great as far as the side character goes. And I love her balance with Cora, because between the two of them, Princess Cora is more serious. She is more introverted, where she's more extroverted. They do balance each other out quite well, and they grow. They help each other grow and accept the world for what it is, you know, on this ship. And as they're going on these adventures, the two of them end up saving the day at some point when, you know, they are on their ship battling pirates, and they are going face to face against the sirens, who hate all men, right? It's a great scene. I love the scene because her cousin's like, oh no, they're not taking my man. She's like, I'm gonna take this to them. And she, completely normal girl, no gifts whatsoever, takes a short sword and is just gonna battle these really powerful sirens. And I thought that was such a great scene. I loved it. I loved the dialogue. I loved the narrative. I loved the character growth, the scenery. I loved the adventure of the story. And I loved the journey for the characters. You know, there's so much character development in the story. As I've said, Cora is a very introverted character because she is pretty much ostracized for being, you know, made of gold. And you feel bad for her, But she sort of comes into herself on this journey because she has the ability to sense the gold, and she's going to go head to head with some pirates who stole the gold. It's very much a journey for her personally. It's a very personal journey for her because she grows so much. And I think that's great, because in that same scene with the sirens, you really get to see her inner strength come out and shine. I mean, that is, I think, the most important part of the novel, when she finally just rises to the occasion and comes into herself and says, no. You know, she's so powerful. Not magic-wise, but she has such a ferocity to her that you get to see in small little tidbits as the story begins to unveil, and that's what I love. You know, she starts off one way and she grows into this completely different person almost, who is fierce, who has belief in herself, and I love that. I think I've said this before. Actually, I know I've said this before. I love it when characters grow from hating something about themselves to accepting themselves and becoming comfortable in their own skin. And for Cora, that is a really big journey, because she looks like she's made out of gold. You know, it's a very big journey for her to go on, and it says a lot about Sullivan's ability to write and to characterize and bring out the personality within the characters. And you know, I said this before, you know, the story itself is amazing. It's paced very well. It grows. You know, the rising tension is executed really well, but there's also lots of plot twists. Like I said, some of them are halfway predictable because you don't see the full picture. It's great. It's cool. I love that. And maybe somewhat. Actually, there's only one thing in this novel that I was just like, oh, I know it's going to happen. And I was only half right, and I was really pleased to be half right, because I don't want to be completely right. I don't want a story to be like, I knew it. You know, when I read it, I was just like, I knew it. But then I was just like, what? No way! I didn't see that coming. It's really full of lots of plot twists that make the story really engaging with the reader. I was thoroughly engaged. I thoroughly loved it. And I think it's really good that Sullivan is able to do that. She's able to really use misdirection to her advantage with the pacing and the character development to make this a very engaging story. And it just kind of comes full circle. Now I have an arc for A Curse of Gold, you know, the sequel to Touch of Gold, and I'm very much looking forward to reading it. I'm very excited to continue to follow Cora's journey, because this was, like I said, it is a good story. It's very engaging, it's unpredictable, it moves at such a great pace, and these characters are fascinating. Not just the main characters, but the side characters as well. I mean, you've got such a diverse cast of characters on this ship. You've got twins, you've got the religious dude. I mean, he's not really that likable, because he's super superstitious, like super superstitious, and he doesn't really like Cora. And then you've got Rat, and you've got the captain. Yeah, one of the dude's names is Rat. But he's actually really cool. You know, these characters are really cool. They balance each other off. They play off each other's strengths. They create a really strong foundation for this novel to really flow off of. Because if it weren't for the strong characters, I don't think this novel would be half as entertaining as it really was. You always need a strong cast of characters in order to ensure that a story is going to remain entertaining and engaging, because we are reading these characters. We need to be able to relate to them. We need to be able to engage with them in some way. And I liked these characters. There's a lot, you know, there's a lot of good things about this novel, and I think it's ultimately incredibly interesting, you know. So once again, this is A Touch of Gold by Annie Sullivan. There is a link to purchase the book in the description below. It's a link to bookshop.org. I highly recommend bookshop.org because a percentage of all proceeds do go to supporting local booksellers. If money's too tight, which I know for a lot of us it is, check out the book from your local library. Please support your local library because they are a great resource for, you know, the communities. And please don't forget to support me by liking this video and subscribing to my channel. I hope you will have a great rest of your day, and as always, happy reading!